it's very important to work on interdisciplinary problems because the problems that climate affects are interdisciplinary. So there's still a lot of research that is very focused just in climate, very process-oriented, but once you start getting to how that affects society, whether it's our planning or our economy or our living comfort, all of those require other disciplines. So whether it's agriculture or social science or economics, we can't do the whole problem ourselves, and neither can they, so we need to work together. I think that the other thing that it does for climate scientists is it defines some interesting questions. So there are some questions that you come to in terms of how do you understand uncertainty, or what can you predict, or what drives some important aspect of climate, and that then is its own area of research. So I think it's good to connect, and it's also then feeds back into new questions. The short answer is yes. I think interdisciplinary work is important for studying the Anthropocene. I personally, and I think several of my colleagues, have concern that everything is put into climate change and man-made climate change. So in particular with the mega drought, I recognize that in the instrumental record for some parts of Chile it was unprecedented. But there certainly in this part of Chile, near Santiago, there have been very long periods of drought in the past, and I think it's an area of study actually. So there's one interesting question that comes up. How much of a role has climate change played in the recent drought in Chile? It's not obvious to me that it's all climate change. Actually, this part of the world compared to the rest of the world has experienced very little climate change. But that being said, there's a lot of other things that man is doing to the environment. Like you mentioned, the land use changes, the mining, which influences the ecosystems and the rivers and things like that. So yeah, you need to bring in these different disciplines to understand how man's actions, whether it's to the atmosphere or the land, is influencing the world around us and how that affects us. I think everyone is really struggling with how to evaluate what they've done. It takes time to evaluate these kinds of changes and decisions, but it's important, and I think that this coherent strategy that the universities and the government are trying to put in place for resilience has a really good opportunity to sort of provide an example to the rest of the world for how to do this, because there is this large community really trying to start with a good plan and then go forward, whereas in a lot of places there's a lot of fractured plans that aren't talking to each other, and then it makes it hard to go back and figure out how far you've come. So what's important at the beginning is to have an assessment of where you are. What are people doing? What information are they using? How are the connections working, say, between disciplines or between agencies? And then define what measures are important to Chile in their work. And then you can start to, going forward, over time, see if that's made a difference. But it takes a while, because there will be some years that are just bad, and then there'll be some years that are very good, but not because of the actions that were taken, just because they happen to be good. And so you really need to look over time. But I think it's a great opportunity, and I wish Chile the best. And I definitely think that the universities can contribute a lot. I think that that's really an amazing forward-looking thing that the government is doing, is bringing in the universities at the beginning.